And we're glad that you folks are with us, and hopefully before the end of the night you'll be glad that you're with us too.
One observation: Kent Mercker usually cracks Big Mac's back before he goes out on the field. Well, with Mercker pitching tonight, who's going to crack his back?
It's a good question.
It may take several players to crack Mac's back.
Usually takes more than one to lift that body off the turf. As we get ready for baseball here in St. Louis, Kent Mercker heads to work, and a look for you at the MCI starting lineup for the Chicago Cubs. Not just the starting lineup, but the role players in this drama that unfolds before us here tonight for the Cubs. Jim Riggleman has Lance Johnson in center, Jose Hernandez batting second at shortstop, Mark Grace hitting third at first base. We've already focused on McGwire. Don't forget, Sammy Sosa's only 3 home runs away from McGwire with 58. Glenn Allen Hill is in left field with Gary Gaetti, the former Cardinal, at third. Mickey Morandini at second. Scott Service is hitting 8th and catching and pitching. Man on the mound, Steve Traxel, will his name be indelibly marked in our memories after tonight's effort. The Cardinals defense, Mark McGwire, don't forget, an American League Gold Glove Award winner at first base with Oakland back in 1990. And the man to his right on the mound tonight for the Cardinals, left-hander, 30-year-old Kent Mercker.
Again, look at Mercker's numbers on the season. Basically a 2 different fastball pitcher. He'll cut one in on the right-handers. He'll sink it away from the right-handers. Best pitch for my money is that straight changeup. Of course, he needs to set it up with those 2 fastballs I mentioned earlier. Very nice changeup with good arm speed that will fade down and away from the hitters. He'll mix in an occasional breaking ball. Very important for Mercker to keep the ball down in the game.
Unless he's pitching to Sammy Sosa. As a matter of fact, either pitcher tonight, when they face Sosa and McGwire, you do not want to keep that ball down to them. A couple of golfers as hitters.
Now, Mark McGwire, in fact, one year in high school, quit the game of baseball to play golf. And you wonder what might have been had he continued down that path. But the former pitcher in high school and at USC is now on the verge of becoming the heavyweight champion of baseball, the single season home run king. This broadcast is also available in Spanish by utilizing the SAP button on your television. Glad you're with us. Maybe history tonight as Kent Mercker gets ready to work to Lance Johnson with Jose Hernandez and Mark Grace to follow. And the first pitch of the night is pop foul. Back and out of play for strike 1. The home plate umpire, Steve Ripley. He's the man in charge of calling balls and strikes tonight, with Larry Poncino at first, Mike Winters at second, Gary Darling at third. Bob, these guys have been here for the entire weekend, and now the next 2 days. That's not a bad assignment for the men in blue to come to St. Louis for this long 5-game stand.
Well, we talked about how excited the players are to be involved in this thing, the fans that were able to get tickets to come out here to Busch Stadium tonight, and this is a big thrill for the umpires as well.
1 ball, 1 strike, and Johnson grounds it foul outside first for strike 2. Tim, what can't be lost in the shuffle as we look at McGwire and track his progress and give you his history throughout the night this evening on Fox, is that man on your right, Jim Riggleman, and the man to his left, Sammy Sosa, heavily involved in the postseason race. They come into tonight's game tied with the New York Mets atop the National League wild card race.
It would be a lot easier for some of Jim Riggleman's decisions if the Cubs were in the same position as the Cardinals out of the race.
Johnson pops it into left center. Langford over to get it to his right. 1 up, 1 down for the Cubs in the first. Well, there are the standings with the Mets and Cubs with identical records of 80 and 64. And the Giants, Bob, a former Giant, they will not go away. And I think that's a credit to a guy who I think is one of the best, if not the best, managers in the game, and that's Dusty Baker.
Oh, regardless of the adversity the Giants have faced this year, they're just hanging around in that wild card race. They got left-hander Sean Estes back last week. Figures to get 3 or 4 more starts down the stretch. You can't count the Giants out yet.
A ball up and away to Jose Hernandez, the number 2 hitter in the lineup for Jim Riggleman. Cubs hoping to get Jeff Blauser back tomorrow. He's had a problem with his throwing elbow. They get Henry Rodriguez back. He's had a bad ankle. But right now, this evening's lineup is the same as we had here yesterday on Labor Day when Mark McGwire hit number 61. That misses from Mercker, and the count goes to 3-0.
Tony La Russa came back to St. Louis from Tampa about 2 hours before game time, is my understanding. He attended the funeral of his mother, Oliva, today. And his dad was okay, his 88-year-old father, and Tony back in the dugout. He left after yesterday afternoon's game against the Cubs. And obviously our condolences to the La Russa family.
Here is Mark Grace with 1 on, 1 out. And evidently they announced the wrong hitter as Grace got in. I think they may have said Sosa. He got out. They say it is Mark Grace at the plate, so he gets a smile, and so does Jim Riggleman.
We've talked about Sosa and McGuire and what fun they're having with this home run chase. Mark Grace in batting practice today took his first round, happened to hit one ball into bleachers in right field, and ran around the bases in batting practice, tipping his cap to the fans. They gave him a good-natured round of applause. Everybody's getting into it.
1 on, 1 out. 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, Mark Grace, Tim, yesterday when McGuire went and hit number 61 before Mark got away from him, gave him a high five as McGuire went around first base.
Gave him a little bash, and that's dangerous to bash with that guy.
1-1, and Grace takes a pitch in the dirt away from Marrero and back into the on-deck circle. That'll send Hernandez down to second on what will be a wild pitch.
Breaking ball gets away from Eli Marrero, and obviously in situations like this all night, when you have first base open with Sosa on deck or with McGuire on deck, there is going to be the question that has to be answered whether you're going to pitch to him or not.
2 balls and a strike on Grace as he takes a high strike on a fastball from Merker. 88-mile-an-hour pitch from the Cardinal left-hander. 2-2. Tony La Russa trying to get the attention of somebody on his defense. Maybe the third baseman Tatis says Merker just missed the outside corner. 3-2.
Close pitch. Mark Grace, one of the better eyes in all of baseball. About as borderline as it gets right there. He must have real good eyes.
The 3-2 from Merker, right back up the middle and through into center field. Hernandez will score without a play, and here in the first inning the Cubs take a 1-0 lead. So with Grace at first and 1 out, it brings in Sammy Sosa, and so much has been made of the way these St. Louis fans have reacted to Sammy Sosa. Another standing ovation. Sosa yesterday, when he got that in his first at bat, tipped his helmet to the crowd here and was quoted as saying he was very touched as the flashbulbs pop. Wow. This is outside for ball 1 to Sosa.
Pat Piper, the public address announcer for years at Wrigley Field, used to exhort to the Wrigley faithful to get your pencils and scorecards ready before the game.
Sosa fouls it back 1-1.
Tonight, it's get your flash bulbs ready before the game.
Get ready to snap away. Sammy Sosa, as we showed you. Anyway, maybe we'll get a look at all these flashballs popping around the ballpark. Sosa comes up empty. I mean, it's to the point where it's got to be somewhat distracting.
Absolutely. You would think so, yeah. Here's what Joe's been talking about. The flashbulbs start even before Merker begins his delivery, and as the pitch nears home plate, they all fire off those cameras at the same time.
A ball and 2 strikes. Sosa takes it up and in.
This kind of reminds me of growing up back in the Midwest. You know, a warm summer evening out in the middle of a field and all the lightning bugs flashing all around you.
I thought you were going to say growing up in the 60s.
No.
Seeing all those flashes. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Ground ball, base hit left field. To the left of Tatis. Sosa's aboard. He had a hit here yesterday, and he's on with a base hit here in the first inning, and now McGuire and Sosa are near each other as they were yesterday and as they were for our pregame conversation. There is absolutely no phoniness.
No.
with regard to these two and how much they respect one another, because they're going through something that they could probably never fully explain to anybody who hasn't lived through it.
And aren't too many people that have lived through it.
2 on, 1 out, and Glenn Allen Hill takes a pitch low.
And even fewer people that could handle it the way these two have.
That's right.
Glenn Allen Hill with 2 on, 1 out, and the 1-0 pitch is high. 2-0 from Kent Mercker, who's getting deeper into trouble. Here it is yesterday with a home run, number 61, off the bat of McGuire. There's the reaction from Sammy Sosa, and then later when Sosa finally reached first, the hug. The 2-0 pitch, Hill, a double play ball to short. Good play by Ordaz, but they can get only one as he couldn't get it out of his glove. The force out at second. Sosa's gone, and it's first and third, 2 out.
That ball was hit so hard it shocked the system of Luis Ordaz. Great hands, and finally gets 1 out.
Like he had possession of that ball about 4 different times during the course of this play, but never really had a good grip on it. Good presence of mind to stay with it and get the force out at second base.
And now Gaetti with first and third, 2 out. Another big ovation here yesterday and again tonight for Gary Gaetti, who grew up just across the river in the state of Illinois, but came to Cardinal games as a youngster in this area. He had been with the Cardinals for 2+ years, released by the Cardinals. He signs with the Cubs, and he has been a big help to Chicago down the stretch, hitting .284 as he lines a base hit into right field. Gray scores. Glenn Allen Hill will go first to third, and it's 2-0 Cubs here in the first.
Gary Gaetti, perhaps more than any player on either team, understands the rivalry between these two organizations and these two cities. The Cardinals and the Cubs, the best in baseball, the best rivalry in baseball, in my judgment. Lining one to right field. The irony of having Sosa with the Cubs and McGuire with the Cardinals, and these two organizations going at one another for all these years.
And now Mickey Morandini. Sammy Sosa now over on the bench. His base hit helps produce that second run, as Morandini pops it into left field for Gant. Should do it for the top of the first, and does. The Cubs come up with 2 runs on 3 hits. Bottom of the first. That means McGuire. 2-0 Chicago. Delino DeShields will lead off at second base. Fernando Tatis at second and third, with Mark McGuire hitting third and first base. And there are the numbers in his career against Traxel. Ray Langford backs up McGuire in the Cardinal lineup with Ron Gant in left, John Mabry in right, Luis Ordaz in short. The pitcher hits 8 for Tony La Russa in the second half of the year. That means Mercker tonight, with Eli Marrero catching and batting tonight. How about the defense for the Chicago Cubs? They've committed 93 errors as a team, and Sammy Sosa always on the list of outfield assists. In that, he has 13. And that defense backs up tonight's starting pitcher, right-hander Steve Traxel.
Traxel with 2 types of fastballs. He'll run the ball away to a left-handed batter and in tight with that cut fastball. And he does have an excellent splitter. That's who Mark McGuire and the Cardinals will be facing this evening.
You see that fastball that he'll either cut or sink, the split finger fastball, all those pitches that we just described normally are pitches that are worked at the bottom of the strike zone, right into Mark McGuire's strength.
Here's the first pitch to Delino DeShields, the bunt. He gets it past the pitcher. Tough play, Morandini. Safe base hit DeShields.
Perfectly executed bunt by Delino DeShields. All he has to do is get it by the pitcher. You can see from the arc on that ball, it has backspin. Gets it past Steve Traxel. The ball checks up on the infield grass, and Mickey Morandini with an outstanding bare hand has to get the speed to DeShields at first.
So the fans here thinking about the big arc, and they got the small arc.
Here is Tatis, 1 on, nobody out. Cardinals trailing by 2 as the Cubs came up with 2 in the top of the inning, and Traxel. That's strike one off the bat of Tatis. You notice one of the points on our scouting report, very deliberate worker.
Yes.
Stated in another way,
He is.
he's slow. He takes forever. And on a night like tonight, you would imagine it might kick down one more notch. Traxel takes his time and gets back on top. As Tatis watches the look over. The Shields has stolen 21. Here's the 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike from Traxel.
I was talking to Scott Service, who also caught yesterday's game, and he said when McGuire was on deck before he came up the first time, he looked over to the on-deck circle, and he said, I have never seen a guy on deck look as focused as Mark McGuire did yesterday.
It's an interesting point to talk about. And as Traxel steps off, he can. I think that's the difference between McGuire and maybe somebody else who might be in this type of situation with regard to concentration. The 1-1 pitch is chopped foul outside third. Mark McGuire is able to separate all that goes on before the game, the media, the pressure that is involved in doing what he's doing, and each individual at bat, and he calls what he's doing right there not sleeping. He's visualizing what he thinks will happen when he steps into the box against Traxel.
A little catnap in the on-deck circle never hurt anybody anyway. You can sleep standing up.
Like horses do.
1 on, nobody out, and a ball and 2 strike count on Fernando Tatis. Check on the runner, and they got him. DeShields picked off first by Traxel. So DeShields is gone as Traxel caught him catching a quick nap standing over at first.
We should have said he's a very deliberate worker until he goes to first. Then he's got quick feet, and that gets to Lino DeShields.
An argument from Tony La Russa.
Now, the entire Cubs pitching staff throughout the season has been accused of using that balk move, particularly the right-handed pitchers, buckling that left knee, the front knee first, and then spinning to throw to first base. And it certainly appeared that that's what Traxel did and got away with one.
The right-handed pitchers use that move, taught to them by Phil Reagan, who used to be the Vulture in Los Angeles. That was his nickname as a short reliever. Don Drysdale worked it about as well as anybody I ever saw.
Now breaking ball, strikes out Tatis, 2 out, nobody on, with Mark McGuire walking to the plate in the first. We'd like to welcome those of you who have been watching the Cincinnati Reds and the Houston Astros on our FX cable channel. They don't even wait for the pitch now with the flash bulbs popping all over the ballpark as Mark McGuire digs in for his first at bat of the night. Sitting on 61 home runs. And a ball low and away. It is overwhelming, these flash bulbs popping around the park.
It's almost like lightning flashing when the pitch is delivered.
Everyone trying to catch their glimpse of history as the 1-0 pitch is inside 2-0. The Roger Maris family watching. Here comes the 2-0 pitch. 3-0, and Traxel hasn't been close with any one of the 3.
Bob, the points you made on Sunday about Mark McGuire not hitting one 3-0 pitch out of the park this year.
His son Matt, his 10-year-old son Matt, who got here just in time yesterday to see number 61. The 3-0 pitch. A three-hopper to short, picked up by Hernandez, and the tag at first. I have to tell you, that is rare. Mark McGwire all year long just will not swing at a 3-0 pitch. He did here, and he's the final out of the first.
This special edition of Fox Saturday Baseball is brought to you by Blockbuster Video, where you'll find more copies of new releases. Go to Blockbuster and go home happy.
Welcome back to St. Louis. Welcome back to Busch Stadium. First pitch was swung on and fouled by Scott Service for strike one. And tonight's Skyview coverage from the Bud One Airship is brought to you by Brewery Fresh Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball. They're floating overhead while we play down below. 1 ball, 1 strike on Service, a .212 hitter. Merker gave up a 1-out walk in the first, and then 3 hits would follow and 2 runs for the Cubs. They lead 2-0. Into center field. Langford back a few. 1 up, 1 down here in the second for Chicago. So Service is gone, and the batter will be the pitcher, Steve Traxel.
Traxel, a very good hitter, as you can see from those numbers. Tony La Russa puts his pitcher in the 8th spot. Steve Traxel's a guy that could probably hit higher in the order as well.
Well, for all of those baseball fans who wondered at times, why does the pitcher always have to hit 9th? I mean, sometimes he might be a more dangerous hitter than a guy hitting higher in the lineup. Tony La Russa has taken that to the extreme in the second half of the year.
If your pitcher's a more dangerous hitter than a guy hitting up in the lineup, get rid of the guy hitting up in the lineup.
Absolutely. Traxel with a 1 ball, 1 strike count. 1 out, nobody on, and up and away. You know, predominantly it's been the catcher hitting in the number 9 spot. So I ask you two, Bob.
Yes.
Here's the 2-1 to Traxel. And caught the zone 2-2. I asked the 2 guys below my name there, what would you think if you came to the park and saw your name in the number 9 spot? Still 2-2, which gives us plenty of time to talk about.
I'll tell you what I would think. I would think that how lucky I was being in the American League.
I spent a short time in the American League, and I became very familiar with that number 9 hole. And let me tell you this, batting 9th is better than batting 10th.
That's right.
Traxel flies to center for Langford. And the first 2 are gone here in the second inning. Well, we will be highlighting Mark McGwire all night. And in order to not clutter his at-bats with this sort of stuff while he's at the plate, we'll tell you where Big Mac ranks in the National League this season. Total bases 3rd. On base percentage is way up. You could have added that to the list. Number 1 in the league. The home runs we all know about. The line drive into left field, and the Cubs go in order. And the amazing thing for McGwire, the on base percentage. With only 53 singles, he's hit 61 home runs.
This special edition of Fox Saturday Baseball is brought to you by Coors Light, frost brewed to tap the clean taste of the Rockies. By MasterCard, official card of Major League Baseball and fan of the great American pastime. By the Toyota Solara Coupe, an entirely different kind of Camry. It's for you. And by the U.S. Army. Be a part of the toughest, smartest Army in the world. Be all you can be.
First view from just outside Union Station here in downtown St. Louis. And there's a man who made his name in the shadow of the arch during his years in the big leagues. Now, when Sammy Sosa says Mark McGwire's the man, he still has to take a backseat to the man, which is Stan Musial, and one of the greatest players ever to play this game.
Perhaps the greatest low ball hitter in the history of the game, but a guy who never reached as many as 40 home runs. Never. That gives you another idea of the accomplishment of Mark McGwire.
Ray Langford takes a pitch up and away, ball 1, and we are underway in the bottom of the second. Langford, Gant, and Mabry for the Cardinals, who trail by 2. They've been out hit 3-1. And Ray Langford, very quietly, like many others on this Cardinal club who have had good seasons, very quietly is putting together one of those 30 homer, 100 RBI seasons. He has hit 26 home runs. He's driven in 91, and his average is at 287. thinking on my way down to the ballpark today about McGwire, what I could ask, what I shouldn't ask. And I wonder if this season for McGwire has kind of been like one long no-hitter. I mean, nobody ever mentions to the guy who's pitching a no-hitter, hey, you know, you're working a no-hitter. Well, for the most part, his teammates don't talk about home runs, and they don't talk about what he is about to do. They kind of stay away, and it's more his teammates' responsibility to get his mind off home runs and off the game of baseball. A ball and 2 strikes on Langford, now 2-2.
It's a real testament to his teammates that, I mean, let's face it, all ball players like to get recognized for their accomplishments, but in this particular season, everything else is going to pale in comparison to what Mark McGwire has done. Yet the rest of the Cardinals have gone out, Ray Langford included, and had very solid seasons while putting their ego on the back burner and allowing Mac to be the star of the show.
Second strikeout for Traxel. First out here in the 2nd inning. Typically you'd be seeing all of that tonight, but in this chase for history, we bring you live coverage of the Cardinals and Cubs, and that's a home run, but the wrong direction. Off the bat of Gant as he pulled the trigger too quickly, and that's strike 1 on Gant, who's hitting .231. Ball was crushed.
You would think that Mark McGwire would be the breakout personality in 1998, but this guy had 49 home runs his rookie year back in 1987 to lead the American League. He's had over 50 his last 2 years, 58 last year.
There's a strike to Gant, is quickly 0-2, and Bob, he's the first player in the history of this game to hit 50 or more home runs in 3 consecutive seasons. Ruth never did it. Maris didn't do it. All of the other great home run hitters didn't do it. Hank Aaron never had a 50 home run season. Here's the 0-2 to Gant. Still 0-2.
We talked about it a little bit Sunday. It's not that easy. I spent 4 years throwing batting practice for the San Francisco Giants, and every day you lay the ball right down the middle of the plate, 65 or 70 miles an hour. Guys try to take you deep. They hit it off the top of the cage. They hit ground balls to the infield. Mark McGwire has done this against very good major league pitching and made it look very easy. It's not that easy.
All the while accumulating 147 walks, which goes into the on-base percentage. But it points out how selective he has been and how selective he has had to become, because pitchers just aren't going to lay it in there for him to get on that so-called list. A ball and 2 strikes, and Gant shoots it foul again.
(1987 to 1995). Mark McGwire has certainly improved with age. Look at the home runs in the last 3 years. He has averaged 57, 96, 97, 98.
A ball and 2 strikes on Gant, and that's the opposite way into right for Sosa. For the Cardinals, 2 up and 2 down. You consider what he did last year. As we continue down our McGwire path, Mabry walks in. Last year, Mark McGwire ends up with 58 home runs. And toward the last part of the season, the last 2 months, he gets traded to a new league with different pitchers he's never seen, different ballparks, different setting, and he hits 24 home runs as opposed to the 34 he hit to start the season in the American League. He ends up with 58
without even knowing the pitchers in the National League.
Ball 1 to John Mabry, 2 out, nobody on, and John takes it just low. 2-0 from Traxel.
Mark has played 187 games with the Cardinals. This is 187. He has 85 home runs in that time, which is 187 games, a little more than 1 year, 1 season.
2 balls and a strike on Mabry. Langford struck out. Gant flied to right. Traxel behind on the count. Brings in the 2-1. 2-2. We mentioned during the weekend John Mabry has had a couple of occasions to slip into the Cardinal lineup and fill in for Mark McGwire at first base. That has happened on the road, mind you, but those fans in other cities, in other ballparks, have flooded that team's front office with complaints. Here's a fly ball to center. This is what Mabry can do. Hit it 400 feet into dead center, and who's waiting for it on the run? Lance Johnson. Back after this from your local Fox station. Ken Mercker back to work as the Cubs will bat here in the third inning with Hernandez, Grace, and Sosa due up. Cubs out in front 2-0, and a ball low from Mercker. Hernandez drew a walk, which started the uprising for the Cubs in the first inning. And he pops it up here on the infield for McGuire. How does it feel, Mark, waiting for something to come down forever? That thing had hang time of about 6-7 seconds. There's John McGuire, Mark's father. What a birthday present he received here yesterday. 61st birthday, 61st home run from his son to tie Roger Maris before this packed crowd at Busch Stadium.
Well, he's ruined it for every other major leaguer. I mean, what, how are you going to top that for a birthday present for your dad?
I asked McGuire if he knew anybody that turned 62 today. Here it is. He picks up his son Matt. You can see him saying happy birthday, Dad, and the thumbs up. It's just such a feel-good atmosphere around here as Grace takes a strike, and it's 1-1, and yesterday may have been the crowning blow. The 1-1 pitch to Grace the opposite way, and Mark Grace is 2 for 2. 2 hops to Gant, and there's a man on with Sammy Sosa walking to the plate.
What Mark Grace has been so good at for so many years, serving that ball into left field.
And here's Sosa.
Not only a feel-good attitude in this ballpark, Joe and Bob, but this game is being broadcast to 100 countries. And I'll guarantee you one of those countries, the Dominican Republic. Right in the southeastern corner is a little town, San Pedro de Macorís, that has produced more major league players than any other city per capita in the world. And Sosa's one of them.
And you are looking at a man at the plate that truly is the ambassador to the United States from the Dominican Republic.
Absolutely.
The Dominican Republic could not be more well represented than by Sammy Sosa. The force out at second, and got them both. An inning-ending 5-4-3 double play. Sosa has a single. He's now 1 for 2, and we move to the bottom of the third. Bottom of the order coming up. Welcome back to Busch Stadium in St. Louis. We move to the bottom of the third inning with the Cubs out in front 2-0. Luis Ordaz, Kent Mercker, and Eli Marrero, the bottom 3 in the order for the Cardinals, down 2-0. And Ordaz takes a pitch up and in for ball 1. Joining us in the booth is Don Marr, the president of the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. And Don, you've brought along a little friend with you.
Yes, we've got the bat that Roger Maris hit his 60th home run with.
And we'll take a close look at that bat, which is autographed by Roger Maris. And you bring that with you, and I would imagine that bat will not leave your sight until you get back to upstate New York.
You're absolutely right.
When you travel around with something like that, you're traveling around with a piece of history, a piece of this country's history. And as you watch this game, do you set your sights on any one particular thing as you watch Mark McGuire take his at bats, or are you thinking, all right, I want the shoes, I want the bat, and I'll take his hat, maybe a ball?
We'd love the bat, we'd love the ball. We have in our collection Babe Ruth's bat from 60 and the ball from 60, as well as Maris's 61st bat, which I'm holding, and the ball from 61.
Now, so much has been made about the souvenir, about the home run ball. As Ordaz fouls it back, it's 3-2. The remarkable thing, Don, is that the last 6 balls that Mark McGuire has hit out of the park, he has been given back by the fan for minimal reward. If it's a signed jersey, it might be signed bat, it might be whatever, but he has had to get very little going the other way as Ordaz pops it up on the infield. He has not seen these baseballs held out for ransom. But Don, you couldn't begrudge somebody who, if they came up with the ball, would hold it out for a little money, would you?
Absolutely not. But I think it's very refreshing to see what the baseball fans have been doing. They respect Mark and what he's accomplished so much that they've returned those balls to him. And it's great because the baseball players have been Hall of Fame's greatest fans. They've been very generous, and obviously it bodes well for the Hall of Fame when those balls are returned to Mark.
Here's Ken Merker, and that's strike one.
What about the anonymous donor who is giving $1 million for that ball? What if you're, for instance, a fan out there and you're making $20,000, $25,000 a year, and this thing will give you $1 million in your pocket? Will the Hall of Fame replace that $1 million?
I'm afraid we would not be able to do that. But I couldn't begrudge the fan.
Well, Don Marr, we thank you for coming. Your presence has meant a lot to, I know, the Maris family. We saw them the other day holding the bat up. What was their reaction when you showed them the bat?
Well, they loved seeing it again. They had seen it, of course, for been in the family for many years. Roger contributed to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1973, but it was fitting for them to revisit the bat this weekend.
I think one of the fun things about looking at this bat, there's still pine tar on it. About the widths of Roger's hands are still pine tar, old pine tar, obviously 37 years old. And Bob, you and I were talking about the grain of the bat and the indentations with the knot in the grain right there. You can tell this is about as good a wood right here, with this indentation right here, the indentation of the seams of the ball, and several other indentations along the sweet part, where Roger hit a lot of those over the course of the 61 season.
Yeah, good hitters have marks right in that sweet spot, and this bat is no exception.
How about the weight of that bat? Does it strike you at all, Tim, how that weight feels?
It's about 32 ounces. Mac uses a 33 ounce bat.
33. Yeah. This is identical to what Sammy Sosa uses. 32 ounces, 34.5 inches.
Well, Don Marr, thanks for stopping by. As you look at Sosa, 2 out, nobody on in the bottom of the third inning with the Cubs out in front 2-0. 1 ball, 1 strike. I know that's overhead compartment material. That's not curbside check-in.
You got that right.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, what will it be and when will it be? As Marrero gets into one to left field, but Hill is back to get it, and the Cardinals go in order again. Traxel space the minimum. We go to the 4th inning, and the Cubs are out in front by 2. Into the 4th inning here in St. Louis. Down below, a packed house. Yesterday, over 50,000 in attendance, standing room only crowd. And it is history in the making, maybe. This home run watch continues. It is right at the top of the hour, 8 o'clock. And we welcome all of you who have tuned in to watch this one between the Cardinals and the Cubs. McGuire against the Cubs as Hill pops it up into shallow right. John Mabry comes to get it, and Glenn Allen Hill is 0 for 2. That'll bring in Gary Gaetti, who had an RBI single back in the first inning to make it a 2-0 Chicago lead. One out, nobody on, and Gaetti takes a pitch high from Merker.
We understand that there was quite a commotion at the White House, the floor of the Senate this afternoon, over the tax ruling by the IRS commissioner. Yesterday it was announced that the person who handed the ball to Mark McGuire, or if he were paid $1 million for the ball, that there would be a remarkable tax problem for the person without even receiving money for it. So the commissioner issued a quote today, several quotes, one of which is hilarious. We're not talking about the commissioner of baseball now. This is the IRS commissioner, the commissioner of the tax code of the United States. We'll tell you what he said right after this. He said that all I know is the fan who gives back the ball deserves a round of applause, not a big tax bill.
Here, here.
Here, here.
That's a relief, isn't it? As Gaetti lines another base hit into left field. An RBI single into right his first time, now one over the outstretched glove of Luis Ordaz for a one-out hit here in the fourth inning.
IRS Commissioner Charles Rosati went on to say sometimes pieces of the tax code can be as hard to understand as the infield fly rule.
Runners at first and second, runners at first, second, and third, less than 2 out. A pop-up on the infield. The runners can advance at their own risk. The batter is ruled out.
Depending on how many dependents they file.
1 on 1 out for Mickey Morandini. And a fastball is high from Kent Mercker.
So this does take all the heat off the person who catches the 62nd home run ball.
Now they're free and clear. They're free and clear.
The tax code says, okay, baby, catch it, do anything you want to with it.
Catch it, cash it in.
That's right.
Or catch it, give it back. They called a balk on Mercker. Kent Mercker commits the balk, which sends Gaetti down to second base with 1 out here in the fourth inning. For Mercker, that's his 4th balk of the year. Interesting shot of Tony La Russa, who earlier wanted a balk called on Steve Traxel when DeShields was picked off in the bottom of the first. Here's a look at the balk.
You can see he started his movement right there and then stops. Miscommunication between Mercker and his catcher Marrero. He started his delivery, started his movement, stopped. Of course, that's a balk. Runner sent down to second base.
And a strike from Mercker to make it 2-1 on Morandini. Fly to left to end a long first inning for Mercker. High fastball. It's 3-1. The Chicago lineup is completely different now with a healthier Lance Johnson. He has set up the rest of the order for Jim Riggleman. Now he has Johnson in the spot he belongs, the leadoff spot. He's getting healthier. And Morandini deeper in the order. They've got a number 7 hitter hitting .302, and he draws a 1-out walk. That'll be preceded by the premieres of King of the Hill and Costello. 2 on, 1 out. Scott Service at the plate. And Service, who is hitting .211, could come up with a big hit for the Cubs. And he does. Into left field. Will they bring Gaetti to the plate? They'll hold him. Gaetti stops at third. The bases are loaded. A single, a balk, a walk, a single, and the bases are loaded for Steve Traxel.
Perhaps a different pitcher in the number 9 spot. Tom Gamboa, the third base coach, maybe takes a gamble, tries to send Gaetti, but as we mentioned, Traxel handles that bat pretty well. He can represent himself up there at the plate. Take a chance on the pitcher driving in a run here.
We mentioned it earlier. This game by no means is on the back burner as far as the Cubs are concerned, but with all of the hoopla about Mark McGwire, Scott Service hammering a high fastball to left field off Kent Mercker. I mean, the Cubs are tied with the Mets once again. The Mets are being throttled by Philadelphia 11-3. That game in the 6th inning. But this is a very, very important game for the Chicago Cubs, and yet the center of attention, Mark McGwire.
Curtis King getting ready for the Cardinals in their bullpen. And now as we play here in the month of September, rosters have been expanded. So seeing a relief pitcher warming up in the early innings of a 2-0 game is not that unusual. Strike 1 on Traxel. Cardinals have Busby, Frascatore, Kraus, Shorpick, Isaac King, Jeff Brantley, Bobby Witt, Juan Acevedo, Jose Jimenez, Brian Eversgerd, and Lance Painter in their bullpen.
And we know how fond Tony La Russa is of going to that bullpen.
Yes.
We may see them all tonight.
Bases loaded, 1 out in the 0-1 pitch. A strike from Mercker. It's 0-2. Gaetti, Morandini, and Service, the runners. The bottom of the order trying to do damage for the Cubs here in the 4th. No balls, 2 strikes, and Traxel, a little bloop pop-up foul, backing out of play. Still 0-2. Really, this game has a really odd feel to it.
It does. Strange.
For guys who cover games and watch games day after day, even in a game like this, and many Cub fans here in the ballpark, it is awful quiet. Everybody anticipating the next Mark McGwire at bat. But right now the Cubs hoping to cash in on a 4th inning opportunity. Traxel fouls it out of play again.
September 8th, 1998, and here's a team tied in the wild card standings. And yes, and yet their performance tonight secondary to one man. That would be he.
And a tap foul keeps Traxel alive at the plate, keeps the count 0-2. Made mention of it on Saturday that Mark McGwire has really taken a team sport and at least lately turned it into an individual game, to the point where everything swirls around McGwire. Meanwhile, there's a game going on. 0-2 the count on Traxel, and Merker steps off.
And you would think that because Mark McGwire has hit 61 home runs, that all of baseball at home runs are up. But that is simply not the case. Sammy Sosa with 58. McGwire with 61.
That rides Traxel off the plate, 1-2. There's the race, which they keep track of here in St. Louis on that manually operated scoreboard up in the upper deck. Here's the 1-2 pitch. That's another one out of play, off to the right, off the bat of Traxel.
Everybody says, well, expansion has caused home runs to be up mightily this year. It is not the case. 1996 or 1987, that's when more home runs were hit than at any time in the history of the game. I beg your pardon, it was second to 1996, but last year and this year just about the same.
Traxel comes up empty as he strikes out. It's the first strikeout for Merker. And this turns into a bases loaded 2-out situation for Chicago. And brings in Lance Johnson, who has to face the left-hander Merker. Johnson is 0 for 2. Big opportunity here for Chicago. Up by 2 in the 4th inning, with the Mets losing big at Philadelphia. Ball 1 from Merker. It's been a long road back this season for Lance Johnson. Finally getting healthy with that hand. The numbers have gone up. 2-0 from Merker.
And as you would expect from Lance Johnson, he normally works deep in the count, forces that opposing pitcher to throw a lot of pitches. Merker missing up high in the zone. Lance Johnson may even take in this at bat until he gets to a strike.
Bases loaded, 2 out, and there's a strike from Merker, 2-1. The career numbers 1 grand slam for Johnson. His numbers with the bases loaded in his long career. Former property of the St. Louis Cardinals. The 2-1 ripped into right field. Mabry on the move, back to get it to end the inning. Well hit, hard hit deep, and Mabry was there to pull it in for the Cardinals. McGwire hits 3rd in the bottom of the 4th.
This special edition of Fox Saturday Baseball is brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light, who reminds you the 3 most important words are, hey, beer, man.
The Bud 1 airship flying overhead, providing our aerial pictures this evening. As Delino DeShields leads off, bottom of the 4th inning, top of the order for the Cardinals, which includes McGwire, and he takes a strike. The 0-1 to DeShields leading off, a ball and a strike. Delino a base hit his first time up, but then was picked off first. And Traxel so far has faced the minimum. 9 hitters through 3 innings. 2-0 Cubs in the 4th inning. And that's foul for strike 2.
concentration, the visualization you were talking about earlier, Joe, trying to picture the pitches he will see from Steve Traxel, various locations.
Ball and 2 strikes on to Shields, first up in the 4th inning. The opposite way, and Gaetti makes a nice play. The Shields is gone, and let's go down to the field and Steve Lyons.
All right, Joe, thank you very much. You know, we've heard a lot from the Maris sons. Let's hear from one of the Maris daughters. This is Sandra Maris, and boy, these last few days for you since you've been in town, it's been like a roller coaster ride. We haven't really got a chance to talk to you. What has all this meant to you?
I'll tell you, seeing the crowd the way it is and all the fans behind Mark has just been tremendous. It'd be neat to be able to see what Dad went through, and it's nice to be here and kind of get that feeling.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to Richard again. Richard, we've talked to you a lot about how you would feel up until this point. You've had a lot of time to think about how you'd feel if the record gets broken tonight or the next few nights. Do you think you'll change the way you've been thinking?
Well, yeah, I mean, at this point, I mean, I'm excited for him. I'd like to see him do it tonight. It's not for just Mark, but for the city of St. Louis. I mean, he's a great baseball fan. It'll be fun to see.
All right, you know, of course, Roger carried his career with dignity and class just the way these guys have. Let's send it back to you guys up in the booth.
All right, Steve, thank you, and thank you to Richard, Sandra. 1 ball, 1 strike on Tatis, and the fastball from Traxel makes it 1-2.
Richard had an excellent point. If Mark McGwire doesn't do it tonight, the Cardinals go on a 5-game road trip to Cincinnati and to Houston. Chances are pretty good that he's going to hit one in one of those 5 games, if not tonight.
Well, everybody has thrown this big party, and here comes the man of the hour, Mark McGwire, who is 0 for 1 tonight, his second at bat here in the 4th. We would like to welcome those of you who have been watching the Houston Astros and the Cincinnati Reds on our FX cable channel as Matt McGwire looks on, wondering if this is the at-bat. Tuesday, September 8th, and Mark McGwire moves 1 place in front of Roger Maris. Down the left field line. Is it enough? Gone! There it is! 62! Touch first, Mark. You are the new single-season home run king. Folks, it couldn't happen to a better man. And you will always know where you were at 8:18 p.m. Central Time, September 8th, 1998.
On your mark. Get set. Bang.
Mark was so happy, he had to remember to touch first base.
I'm not sure if his feet were touching the ground at that point.
Mark McGwire, who started the season as Gary Gaietti's teammate. He's been with Rene Latchman over the years. A point to the sky, a hug from Scott Service, and the reaction from his longtime manager, Tony La Russa. Now to the Maris family.
My son, Chicago Cubs, Sammy Sosa, unbelievable. Class. Thank you, St. Louis.
Well, we asked Mark McGwire before the game if he thought someplace there was a script written, and tonight was the night. And guys, a little sheepish smile crept onto his face. He didn't want to admit that he wanted it to happen tonight, but he said if it's to be, tonight is the night to do it here in St. Louis before these fans, before the road trip. Tonight is the night, Tuesday, September 8th, 1998.
I was not sure that the ball was going to have enough height to get over the wall. He hit it so hard that it could have gone through the wall. What a tracer.
Now Sosa. People cannot begin to imagine what those two have been through in 1998. Two men from completely opposite backgrounds joined in 1998 in the Roger Maris chase, and it's Mark McGwire who gets to the top of the mountain, home run number 62 in the Cardinals' 145th game of the year.
One of the interesting things about that home run is no fan had a chance to catch it because the ball wasn't hit up into the stands. It was hit into that area below the stands.
One more look at the swing of Mark McGwire. Low fastball driven on a line. You can see that area right there underneath the sign where the batting cages used to be here at Busch Stadium. I believe that's an area where they store the batting practice equipment, the cages and what have you.
Right.
Very uncharacteristic Mark McGwire home run. Normally the towering shots that seem to hang in the air forever. That one happened so quickly the fans were stunned.
Bob, it was almost like a Sammy Sosa home run. But again, so much made of the fan who's going to catch the ball, and now you have to wonder whether a fan was able to get to it and where the ball is.
Sosa's salute to Big Mac.
Man.
Here's the change on the scoreboard. Number 62 for Mark McGwire. And no one more than Mark McGwire hopes that the attention this is focused on Roger Maris and his year of 1961 and his career. Roger Maris, a great player. No one hopes that all of this attention, no one hopes any more than Mark McGwire that this will put Roger Maris in his rightful place in baseball's Hall of Fame.
I could not agree with you more.
Major League Baseball had said that they did not want to, if Mark McGwire hit the home run, stop the game midstream, but we're finding out, Bob Brentley, that was an unrealistic expectation. It's impossible.
The best laid plans of all, you know, you've heard that saying before. I mean, the emotion of the moment was entirely too much. I mean, how are you going to tell the all-time single-season home run leader, don't go over and hug the Marises? We got to keep the game moving. It's his show. Let him do what he wants.
Mark McGwire with that heart pounding at the end of the dugout. And the Macometer surfaces 62 and counting. You had a quick shot of John McGwire, Mark's father. His parents have been here tracking this over the past couple of days. There's John right in the middle on your left with a Cardinal hat on. And I said it as he came to the plate, guys. It seems like you throw this man a party night after night after night, and he delivers seemingly every time out. What an honor. History made here tonight. St. Louis, Missouri at Busch Stadium. There is your new single-season home run champion, 62 and counting. Drive into right field off the bat of Jose Hernandez, and you'll excuse us if we missed a pitch in the top of the 5th inning. Getting McGwire coming back onto the field. Well worth it as Mark Grace walks in tonight. 2 for 2. Pair of singles, an RBI, a run scored. But right now it's like the game is taking place elsewhere. The middle, off the mound to Ordaz, has time, 2 gone. McGwire in this 1998 season, as Sosa rips it foul, has said just about all the right things, and he is a modern athlete who respects the game and respects his predecessors, and what he showed us all and the Maris family with those hugs over there are lasting memories that will not go away. Now this crowd gets into it for Sammy Sosa. 1 point, the home run, 341 feet, the shortest in distance McGwire has hit all year. Two balls and a strike.
But if you figure the distance between St. Louis and Cooperstown, it becomes the longest one he's hit.
This crowd now is standing for Sammy Sosa. They would love nothing more than to see Sosa connect and hit number 59. These two have come together in 1998, and Cardinal and Cub fans are together right now rooting for Sosa.
That's a switch.
It is.
For Cardinal and Cub fans to be together on anything.
But the one thing the rivalry has always been is very respectful of the other team and the other fan. The 3-2 pitch to Sosa, a 2-out walk, and the crowd, Cardinal fans mainly, booing Merker as he issues the 2-out walk.
one would think that now that Mark McGwire is relaxed, that he could go on and hit maybe 15 more home runs. And the same could be said for Sammy Sosa. It's very possible that Sosa could end up with more home runs than Mark McGwire this year.
Glenn Allen Hill, strike one. That's one theory that you hear, that, okay, now McGwire's broken the record. Sammy Sosa's still involved in a heated pennant race in the wild card chase, and there is some danger in McGwire relaxing.
Sure.
He could go one way or the other. He could go off, or he could fall off in the home run pace, and Sosa could pass him by, but time will tell about that. 1 on, 2 out, strike 2 to Glenn Allen Hill. Meanwhile, it's a 2-1 game, Bob.
It is.
5th inning, Cubs out in front by a run, and they have a man at first and 2 out.
Well, considering that McGwire, 19 games remaining after tonight, or 19 games including tonight, if you average 3.3 at bats per game, which is about what Mac has done this season, he's going to get a little over 60 at bats the remainder of the season. He's hit 13 in his last 63 at bats, so it's conceivable he might hit 75.
Glenn Allen Hill a full swing, but he's jammed, and Ordaz back to get it to end the inning. So a 2-out walk to Sosa. He is left on. We will have lots more tonight. Halfway through this one, a night that history is made in St. Louis. 2-1 Chicago.
Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you in part by Hoover. Nobody gets the dirt like Hoover. Nobody. By Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. If you depend on your car, depend on Dobbs. And by Steak and Shake. Extra innings. We're open 24 hours. Steak and Shake, famous for steak burgers.
Well, folks, tonight's Skyview coverage from the Bud One airship is brought to you by Brewery Fresh Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball. Down below, history has been made. Mark McGwire connects for home run number 62, the new single-season home run champion. He did it in the bottom of the 4th inning at 18 minutes past the hour of 8 o'clock. Here's a strike and the count 0-1 on Ron Gant. Well, folks packed into this stadium, hoping tonight would be the night. Mark McGwire did not disappoint as his march continues. Gant flies into right. Sammy Sosa coming on. He makes the catch. One away, and let's take it now down to Steve Lyon. Steve.
All right, Joe, thank you very much. This is an unbelievable story. I'm standing down here with Tim Forneras. He caught the ball. He works for the club on the grounds crew along with his brother Tito, and his mother works as a concierge. Now, Tim, tell me about how he caught the ball.
It was unbelievable. Right when it hit off the bat, I knew it was going out. It went right over the sign. There was a bunch of grounds crew guys on the wall, but I was right on the edge, and I said, that ball was mine. So I jumped off, I ran as fast as I could, I snagged it, and then I didn't know what to do with it, so I kind of walked around.
Well, you know, we talk about the pressure that Mark McGwire has had hitting the home runs. A lot of pressure on you as to what you're going to do with the ball, and what did you decide?
Well, it's a definite decision. It will definitely go to Cooperstown, or, you know, Mr. McGwire, of course, and then he can decide what he wants to do with it. I just don't want to be taxed.
That's a great answer. You know, this is his mother, Tina. Now, you must be very proud of a son who's willing to give up that kind of a responsibility, give the ball back to the guy who rightfully deserves it.
He's always been a giving child, and I had no doubt in my mind that he wouldn't do this. He said it. He said if I ever had that opportunity, I wouldn't even think about it twice. It's his.
You know, Tino, you were out there with him, and you said he was just too quick for you. He got to the ball quicker.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the ball went out just like you said, and next thing I knew, it was over, and he was already halfway there, and I didn't even have a chance for it. And there isn't a better kid. I mean, he said since, you know, if I ever had the chance, I'd give it to Mr. McGwire, and he can do whatever he wants with it after that. So he's been saying that all along.
Well, just another one of those great stories that we've had here all week long. Let's send it back to you guys in the booth.
All right, Steve. There's where it went. In between the K's for the strikeouts at the top of the wall in left field. 341, again the shortest in distance, but the biggest in significance that Mark McGwire hits in 1998. 2 out, nobody on, and a breaking ball is a strike to Luis Ordaz.
I tell you, I'm overwhelmed that Tim would give the ball immediately to McGwire without thinking. Overwhelmed.
I think we're all, the three of us are finding out things about ourselves that we might not have known before.
A lot of people
this home
are.
run chase.
I think a lot of people are. We're not the only mercenaries in this country.
Here, watch. Watch Tim. You'll see him come up. That's not Tim. It's from Tim. It's one of the ushers down by the field, and McGuire just gives it right back to him. So Tim gives it to an usher to give to McGuire right at the home plate celebration. McGuire says, yeah, take it back. Now, he eventually will get it, and Cooperstown eventually will get it. And we will track the story about young Tim. Ordaz pops it up into center field, and Lance Johnson is there. I see his mom. I see Tim's mom, Rita, every day when I come to the ballpark, and I saw her tonight. She said, you think tonight's the night? I said, I think tonight's the night. Little did she know young Tim would come up with it. Well, okay, we're getting a little greedy. Mark McGuire, 8 multi-home run games this season. 51 in his career. He's hit 1 tonight. He's hit 62 on the year. And it is our intention, folks, after the game, as Gaetti leads it off in a 2-1 game in favor of the Cubs. We're in the 6th inning. It's our intention to interview Mark McGuire right at the conclusion of this game. And that brings up another aspect of this, guys, how gracious Mark McGuire has been with his time, and how wonderful a job the Cardinals PR department, led by Brian Bartow, has been in handling this situation. 2 balls and a strike on Gaetti. Dan Farrell and all of the people, general manager Walt Jocketty, and a list of people that runs on and on and on, and getting Mark McGuire to us at times, to the other parts of the media at times, as Gaetti lofts a foul ball down the left field line. 2-2. Major League Baseball has done a great job as well.
There's Walt Jocketty, the man responsible for signing Mark McGuire. And Mark McGuire is not even among the top 5 paid players in Major League Baseball. You talk about a steal and a deal.
2 balls, 2 strikes. It's still 2-2.
How much money do you think Mark McGuire has generated for the industry of baseball in 1998?
I don't know if you could put a number on it. Attendance up at every ballpark that Mac went to. Priceless. That says it all right there.
Well, you've seen history tonight. Next Tuesday, you can find out who survives the big propane blast and who doesn't on the season premiere of King of the Hill. History next Tuesday, and then see why Sue is the breakout personality of the new season on the series premiere of Costello before an all-new Guinness. It's Fox Tuesday starting next week at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Here's Morandini.
We've survived the blast tonight. We have 1 more to go next Tuesday.
That's right. Wow. So 1 out, nobody on for Mickey Morandini, who is 0 for 1 with a fly out and a walk. That's strike 2. But you mentioned Walt Jocketty. I live here in St. Louis. When he made the trade, a lot of the local media said it's just rent a player. The Cardinals were basically out of the running for the postseason last year, and they said, why would you give up 3 young pitchers to get Mark McGuire when you know he's going to be a free agent and not stay here? Well before the end of the season, Mark McGuire gave everybody here in St. Louis and really throughout the Midwest an early Christmas present when he said he would stay here, signed for less money, deferred a lot of money, then made the announcement he would donate $1 million a year to charity for abused children. And it fell out of the sky from nowhere, and here he is, Mark McGuire, who probably will end his career in a Cardinal uniform, and look what he's done in 1998.
Acquired by the St. Louis Cardinals in a trade with the Oakland Athletics for pitchers T.J. Matthews, Eric Ludwig, and Blake Stein on July 31st, 1997. And how good must those 3 guys feel right now to have been traded for Mark McGuire?
T.J. Matthews, who grew up right across the river, was heartbroken when he was traded away from the Cardinals. Very good young right-hander pitching out in Oakland. Blake Stein looks like he's going to be a good starter. And Eric Ludwig is no longer with the Oakland A's. He is now pitching for Jim Leyland and the world champion, lest we forget, Florida Marlins. A little fly ball into center. 1 hop picked up by Langford off the bat of Service, a 2-out single.
Well, talking about the possibility of McGuire being a rent-a player last year, Walt Jocketty said, I knew once we got him here to St. Louis, put him in front of these Cardinals fans at Busch Stadium in the Midwest, the kind of people that are here, knowing the kind of guy Mark McGuire was, Walt Jocketty was pretty sure they'd be able to ink him to a contract.
And you talk about a perfect match. This community, these baseball fans, which if you're not familiar with it, as Traxel lines a base hit into left field, the Cardinals will go over 3 million in attendance. A feat normally reserved for cities the size of New York, Los Angeles. The hysteria around the Colorado Rockies when they came into the league. They will go over 3 million. And they do it from an enormous drawing area throughout the Midwest, states that surround Missouri. People drive mile after mile after mile to come watch the Cardinals, and lately to come watch McGuire. 2 on, 2 out. Lance Johnson at the plate. Johnson trying to add to the Chicago lead, which is 2-1. He takes a strike. Back-to-back 2-out hits, and now Johnson to the right side. Good play by DeShields to his left, and the inning is over. No runs, 2 hits, 2 left, 8 left tonight for the Cubs. Another look at number 62, 341 feet later. That man's your new single-season home run champion. Bottom of the 6th inning. And wow, what a night for Cardinal fans. Not only do you catch a guy who is going to end up in the Hall of Fame, but you see the major league debut at the plate right now of J.D. Drew, the highly touted prospect who held out from the Philadelphia Phillies after 2 years ago being drafted by the Phillies, seeking an enormous contract. It didn't happen. He sat out. He played in the Northern League, and Bob Brenly, he goes back into the draft. The Cardinals select him, sign him. Another feather in the camp of Walt Jocketty, and here he is.
Man, what a night to make your debut, huh? Yeah, I don't think he'll forget this day.
J.D. Drew gets his name in the box score. A box score that may likely end up in Cooperstown. The 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. So J.D. Drew, wearing number 8, making his major league debut. Left-handed hitter with power. That's strike 2. We're in the 6th inning, and Drew leads it off. With Marrero and DeShields to follow. A ball and 2 strikes. 2-2.
See J.D. Drew starting his career tonight, and I can't help but think, and I was thinking about him all day, Butch Yatkaman turned 90 years old on June 15th. He worked for the Cardinals over 70 years, and he is at home watching the game this evening. And I would be remiss not to say hello to the diminutive equipment trainer, equipment manager of the St. Louis Cardinals for over 70 years, and loved by everybody in this city. And not here at the park tonight, but watching the game on television.
The 3-2 to Drew is hit down the right field line. He hooked it, and it's foul. Wow.
Well, this may be his first at bat in the big leagues, but the Cubs have a pretty good scouting report on J.D. Drew. A steady diet of off-speed pitches. Every fastball he's seen has been up around the letters.
Would this have been something had this ball had gone out of the ballpark? His first plate appearance on the night that McGuire hit 62.
There's Bud Selig's reaction, and Jim Gray's for good measure over the outside corner, and J.D. Drew strikes out to start the 6th inning. So first major league at bat, a strikeout. Dear diary, what a night I had tonight in St. Louis, and that is an iffy pitch called for strike 3.
Well, you might as well get used to it now, J.D. You're going to have a few of those called on you in your career.
So the major league debut, not what J.D. thought about on his flight from Memphis after playing at Tim McCarver Stadium to St. Louis to make his major league debut here tonight on September 8th. Eli Marrero now, who is 0 for 1. Cardinals down by a run in the 6th inning. Cubs needing this ball game. I think they could have the old, I think such a tired line, but a win-win situation. You see history and you get a victory as the Mets are just getting pummeled in Philadelphia 16-3 in the 8th inning, and the win tonight would put the Cubs back a game out in front in the wild card race.
San Francisco Giants will play at San Diego later on this evening. The Giants are 2 games behind both the Mets and the Cubs entering tonight's play.
2 balls and a strike, now 3-1. We talked about the rivalry here and in Chicago between these two, but I will guarantee you the majority of Cardinal fans have seen what they wanted to see in 1998, and they'd be more than happy to see the Cubs in the postseason. The Cardinals, by the way, have been mathematically eliminated at this point. 3-2, the count on Marrero.
I think a big tip of the cap to Steve Traxel for being able to maintain his composure throughout the hugs and the salutations from Mark McGwire. The 10-minute delay, he's come back to retire, well, 5 in a row at that point. He walks Marrero here.
Let's go down to Steve Lyons, who's standing by with the commissioner.
All right, Joe, thank you very much. This is Bud Selig. And Bud, you are an owner of the Brewers. When Henry Aaron hit his 715th, can you compare that to this moment tonight?
Well, that was a very dramatic moment, and it was remarkable then. And this has been, I don't think, Steve, in all the things I've seen in my 35 years in baseball, I'm not sure I've ever seen anything like I've seen here the last 3 days. And tonight was magnificent. You think of the history and just the way Mark handled it when he came over here and hugged the Maris family. This is a great moment for baseball, for all of us involved. It's been some summer, and it got capped off tonight. So this is the type of moment that for 2 or 3 generations people remember where they were when he hit the home run.
And you certainly see some emotion from Mark McGwire that we're not used to seeing in years past.
You know, you really do. Both Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire have handled it well, and I just can't tell you what how much grace and dignity they brought to the game. And we're having a great year, but they certainly are 2 of the primary reasons. And it's not only their achievements, which are obviously, I mean, magnificent. It's the way they've handled themselves all along.
Could this have happened in a better baseball city than St. Louis?
Well, you know, I have to be a little careful of that, but because I said this at my press conference. But look, when you think of St. Louis and you go back to the Gas House Gang and you go back to Stan Musial and Red Schoendienst, who are sitting right here, and you think of all those years and the remarkable attendance they have. This is, if you were to ask, is there a better baseball town in America? The answer is no, there isn't. This town is absolutely remarkable, and its history proves it.
All right, Bud, I know that you've had a great time. We certainly have too. Let's send it back up to you guys in the booth.
All right, Steve, thank you, and thank you to Bud Selig. As DeShields takes a ball down and in, 1-2. Well stated from the commissioner. Put it into perspective. It's been good, wholesome fun at the old ballpark.
Good family entertainment. You know, that word that the commissioner used that we've kicked around here in the booth, but I think it's very apropos for both the gentlemen that have been pursuing this record is dignity. They both carried themselves in such a dignified, respectful manner. You can't help but root for them.
Then another balk call. This time Steve Traxel is called for the balk, and we will get a mild argument from Jim Riggleman. And Larry Poncino, the first base umpire, tries to give a long distance reason to Jim Riggleman as he heads out as to why the balk was called. This is our second balk of the night. One by Merker and one here by Traxel.
Earlier in the game, you may remember Delino DeShields was picked off on a similar balk move from Steve Traxel. And that's what Bob was talking about earlier. When you break that left leg, you're committed to go home. He did it again, and a balk was called.
It's a very subtle movement, and it's timed so perfectly that a lot of times Traxel and the other Cub right-handed pitchers have been able to get away with it. That front knee buckles just enough, and they spin, make the throw to first base. Most base runners are trained to concentrate on that leg. When they see that left leg buckle, they know the pitcher's going home.
You know what it points out along with everything you're talking about, is the mild argument that Tony La Russa put up back in the first inning. While it didn't change the call at the time, changes the circumstances here because he planted the seed in the head of Larry Bonsino. A base hit to left field. Here comes Marrero. Glenn Allen Hill kicks it in left. A run scores. It's a 2-2 game on a base hit by Delino DeShields.
Eli Marrero is a catcher who is a fast runner. A good jump at second base. He scores easily. I would imagine this will be a single RBI for DeShields and an error on Glenn Allen Hill.
And it is. First for Hill in a Cub uniform. Doesn't have the greatest reputation as a defensive outfielder. One of the reasons why, after starting the year in Seattle, he's no longer to the right of Ken Griffey Jr. And if there was any suspense, it went out the window when Hill kicked it in left field, but Marrero's going to score either way. And now Tatis with a go-ahead run at second and 1 out. 2-2 game. Into left field, well hit. Back is Hill near the track to make the catch. 2 down. In walks Mark McGwire.
This is not going to be a popular decision, but if I'm Jim Riggleman, I walk McGwire in a minute. Think nothing of it. In a second.
Well, you're absolutely right. It would not be a popular decision, but I agree with you. The Cubs are trying to get into the postseason, and regardless of who's chasing what record, they have to do what's best to win a ball game. And right now, the obvious choice is to put McGwire on.
You called it. The intentional walk to Mark McGwire will put 2 on with 2 out for Ray Lankford. And it's almost as if to say, okay, you've had your history.
That's right.
Now we want the game.
That's right. And that, to me, is logical thinking.
In case you're just joining us, here's the way it sounded a little less than an hour ago. Record-breaking home run number 62 off the bat of McGwire. Been a family affair around here lately with Mark's 10-year-old son arriving just in time to see home run number 61 yesterday, and he doesn't have to miss another day of school. He can go back to California. He's seen home run number 62.
Well, on 61 and 62 both, it appeared that Matt McGwire wanted to do that high-five punch in the stomach thing that the Cardinals do, and both times Dad picked him up and ruined the fun.
Maris family picking up a photograph of Roger Maris in his Cardinal uniform. Roger Maris ended his major league career in this city in that uniform. Now look at Roger Maris. Langford waits 2 on, 2 out, and takes a ball. It's 1-1.
Sometimes in television you have to lay out, and that's obviously what we were doing after the home run. And Bob and I are talking between innings, saying if there was ever a time to lay out, that was it. Because I'll tell you, we both almost lost it. When he went to hug the Maris family, then we almost lost it.
2 on, 2 out, 1 ball, 1 strike. Strike 2. One thing that we tried to give you, and we're very proud of our director Bill Webb and our producer John Filippelli, but we wanted to give you one constant look after the swing at Mark McGwire going around the bases. There's plenty of time right after the home run to show reactions from the many factions around this ballpark. But we wanted to give you one clean view of Mark McGwire with that historic trot. 2 on, 2 out, 1 and 2, the count on Langford. It's a 2-2 game. 6th inning. Traxel trying to keep it that way. 2 balls, 2 strikes. By the way, the walk to McGuire, the 148th walk handed to him this season, and the first intentional walk since August 12th, in case you wonder about teams pitching to Mark McGuire. 2 on, 2 out, and the 2-2 to Langford. Full count, the runners will go. Keep talking about records. That man, Mark McGuire, is at a pace for 166 walks. The Major League record is held by Babe Ruth with 170. Many people didn't think that could be done. 2 on, 2 out, and Langford shoots one into deep right center, at the track, at the wall, 3-run homer, 5-2, St. Louis. Intentionally walk Mark McGuire, get to Langford, and Ray jumps up and bites you.
The lower the pitch, the harder he hits it. That looked like a splitter. Ray Langford does not miss pitches around the knees.
And that's part of the reason Mark McGuire has not been intentionally walked since August 12th. Ray Langford having a big year behind him in the order. You got to have that protection.
Mark McGuire called Ray Langford, and this crowd wants a curtain call. Mark McGuire called Ray Langford the best protection he has ever had in any lineup he's been in.
That was an off-Broadway curtain, by the way.
It was. 2 out, nobody on, and a ball high to Gant. One ball, no strikes on Gant. 2 out, nobody on. 3 runs home and a 1-1 count. Well, it would be tough to second-guess the move of Jim Ringelman. I mean, he's got the single-season home run champ. First base open, 2 out. I don't care who's hitting behind him. Strike 2 on Gant. Langford is the man hitting behind him. And Langford goes deep. Tim, you mentioned Tony La Russa's week. Losing his mother over the weekend. Jumping on a flight. Going to Tampa, Florida, which is where he is from, to attend the funeral services of his mother, Oliva. Getting on a plane, knowing that his father was doing well enough to let him attend this game. And he hustles to get back here and is in the dugout for Mark McGuire's 62nd home run. And Tony La Russa wanted to be here for that. If all was well back home, all was well back home with his 88-year-old father. And Tony La Russa, who was Mark McGuire's manager in 1987 when he came to the big leagues, is here to see McGuire make history. 2-2 on Gant. Base is empty, 2 out, and Gant gets into one to center. Deep center, back-to-back, 6-2 Cardinals. back-to-back home runs. And this swing by Ron Gant marks the end of a historic night for Steve Trachsel. The Cardinals lead 6-2. Welcome back. A 1-ball, 1-strike count. Terry Mulholland into the game for the Cubs in relief of Trachsel, who goes 5 2/3 innings. He's on the hook for the loss. Unless the Cubs rally, they trail 6-2. 2 out, nobody on, and ball 2 down and away to Mabry, 2-1.
And unless the Cubs can catch the Cardinals in 9 innings and tie it, Kent Mercker will be the winner. Double figures for Kent, telling us before the game that these people probably came to see him hit tonight.
They're seeing home runs left and right. This one falls short off the bat of Mabry. I hope we have his reaction. Boy, was he ticked. These fans aren't. Neither is he. 6-2 Cardinals. Well, tonight's Skyview coverage from the Bud One Airship is brought to you by Brewery Fresh Budweiser. There's a look at the Bud One Airship, the official beer of Major League Baseball. Wish you guys and gals were down here, high above. As tonight, Mark McGwire hits number 62, a 341-foot laser line drive over the wall and left. And Rick Croushore is the new Cardinal pitcher just recalled. J.D. Drew stays in the game and takes over in left field. And the reports on him in the outfield are just sit back and watch. 1 ball, 1 strike. They say he can play the outfield like few have been able to play the outfield. They like him eventually in center field. So Drew stays in the game, and Croushore will bat in the spot vacated by Gant. Here's a fly ball into right center field off the bat of Jose Hernandez and into the glove of Mabry, 1 away. Well, last inning, and this is now a game of reactions. Mark McGwire's reaction to the Ron Gant home run, which made it a 6-2 game. Then Mabry thought, all right, we're going back to back to back. It fell short. And here's his reaction as he's hit 2 deep drives, but so far tonight is 0 for 3.
That's the maddest anybody's been tonight.
And he got over it quickly.
Yeah.
Here's Grace. 1 out, nobody on. The 7th inning stretch is coming, but that is pretty much redundant. I mean, it's already happened. It's happened one time after another throughout this game, and maybe they'll rest. 7th inning rest.
Stay seated.
Yeah. 1 out, nobody on. Grace up. Sosa next. And a strike to Grace from Croushore, who features that good fastball and the screwball from a right-handed pitcher. Well, you will know more and more about Steve Trachsel. You have to give him a lot of credit here tonight. He could have made it look like he was pitching to McGwire. He came after him. He got him in the 1st inning on a 3-0 pitch. McGwire grounded out. Didn't get him in the 4th inning. There's a look at Steve, 27-year-old, born in Oxnard, California, lives in Mesa, Arizona. He has a career-high 14 wins in 1998, but right now he is, in essence, the new Tracy Stallard, as the pitch is up and away to Grace to make it 3-2.
Tracy Stallard giving up Roger Maris's 61st home run back in 1961 in game 162.
That's up and away for a 1-out walk. The Cubs need a rally here, and they have the right combination. A walk to Grace and Sosa coming to the plate. Here is Sammy, who gets yet another standing ovation here. This night would be complete if Sosa hits a home run. With 58 and 140 RBIs. And a ball from Croushore.
Cubs have 43 come from behind victories on the season. One of the marks of this 1998 Chicago Cubs ball club, they're never out of a game, especially when you've got Sammy Sosa in the middle of your lineup.
Broken back into left center field. A late break by J.D. Drew, but he's there to put it away. Sosa is retired. You know how that show's going to end tomorrow night. Into center field, Glenn Allen Hill gets a base hit. Grace stops at second. It's 2 on, 2 out. And the Cubs hoping for a big rally, and they have red-hot Gary Gaetti, who came in with a .383 average in 18 games with the Cubs, and tonight 2 out of 3.
There is a big difference between breaking a record and breaking the record. And tonight, Mark McGwire broke the record that most people think is the most revered in any sport. Home runs in a single season.
You definitely get the feeling they're going to have to change that number before the end of the season. Maybe several times.
Everybody has to look around them and wonder what, as Lance Painter gets ready, what memorabilia they can take away from this night. Somebody's going to get that banner up there, you know that.
Right.
Might be hung outside Mark's off-season home back in California. Look good in my basement. 2 on, 2 out. Gaetti takes a ball low from Croushore. Final score: the Phillies embarrassing the Mets 16-4. So the Cubs, at the very worst, will be tied with the Mets at the end of the night in the wild card chase. And there, the Mets a half game out. If the Cubs fail to rally, they'll be back even. But then you start looking at the Giants again. The Giants starting the night tonight, now 2 games back, and they are leading at San Diego 1-0 in the first inning. There's a strike, and it's 2-1 on Gaetti. 2 on, 2 out.
San Francisco, San Diego gave Kirk Reeder the left-hander against Andy Ashby. Nomo was the starter in the Mets game today. Not sure exactly how many of those 16 runs were his.
3-1 on Gaetti. As Croushore is making this more and more interesting, with a 300 hitter Morandini on deck. A walk to Grace, a hit by Hill. Morandini next, but right now the 3-1 to Gaetti. Pops it up, back behind the plate, and it's out of play. And the Cardinals will head to Cincinnati after tonight's game. I think that'll be a fun flight.
McGwire wouldn't even need an airplane.
Here's the 3-2 pitch, just missed off the inside corner. The bases are loaded with 2 out for Morandini, and that might be it for Croushore.
This 3-2 pitch just inside to Gary Gaetti. Could have been a little low. Good call.
And with Morandini coming up, Croushore, who was just reinstated on the Cardinal roster, as the rosters have been able to expand now in September, cannot get through a full inning. We're in the 7th. The Cubs are rallying, trying to get back in it. Lance Painter will enter. Lance Painter takes over, third pitcher of the night for St. Louis, second of the inning, and he inherits a bases loaded 2 out Mickey Morandini situation.
Morandini always a tough hitter, but particularly with runners on base, he'll battle, he'll hang in there tough. Although it looks like Matt Mieske has come out into the on-deck circle to hit for Mickey Morandini.
Well, we praised one move. I have to question this one. And Mieske might step in and pound a grand slam with the bases loaded 2 out. And he is a 300 hitter, but Morandini is a season-long accomplished 300 hitter, doing a lot of that against left-handed pitching, and I don't.
It is a strange move unless there is an injury that we don't know about to Mickey Morandini.
Morandini was in the on-deck circle, and I am going to go out on a limb and say there's nothing physically wrong with him. But it's Mieske now as Jim Riggleman goes to the right-hander. Bases loaded, 2 out, facing Painter and taking a ball high. Matt Mieske has spent the better part of his career in Milwaukee. And in his first year with the Cubs, there are his career numbers with the bases loaded. He's a 300 hitter. He did just get recalled from AAA Iowa. So Morandini is lifted here in the 7th with the bases loaded, 2 out. And that's low, ball 2, 2-0. Morandini is 0 for 7 lifetime against Lance Painter, if you want statistics to back you up. But you can see Mickey shaking his head over there.
He doesn't believe in those computer printouts.
Here's the 2-0 pitch. Bases loaded, 2 out. Cubs need a hit. Off the mask of Marrero, 2-1.
Being a catcher's easy, huh? A lot of people think shots like that don't hurt, but they do.
It'll rattle your cage, cross your eyes for a few minutes.
Now the 2-1 pitch to Mieske with the bases loaded, 2 out. Into center field. Langford over to get it. The Cubs threaten but do not score. They leave 3 and have stranded 11. Bottom of the order coming up for the Cardinals on a historic night in St. Louis.
Hey, Cardinal fans, this break in the action is brought to you by Bud Light. For the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light.
Terry Mulholland goes back to work. His second baseman is Jason Maxwell. He's just called up from AAA Iowa, and he gets to play in this historic game. As Luis Ordaz, the shortstop for the Cardinals, then Drew, then Eli Marrero will bat for St. Louis, leading 6-2 in the 7th. They pinch hit for Morandini and now have to replace him defensively. And Ordaz behind on the count 0-1. Here's J.D. Drew. From the Northern League to a new contract to Double-A Little Rock to Triple-A Memphis to the Cardinals. What a year. And to a Major League debut on a night in which Mark McGwire hits number 62.
And prior to that, laying out a professional ball for a year because the Philadelphia Phillies couldn't sign him. Couldn't get together with numbers.
1-1. Ordaz chops it foul. Now I hope JD knows it's not like this every night around here.
Yeah, right.
Cardinals, for the most part, are penciling him in for a starting spot in their outfield next year. And it's a big topic of discussion around here because of the impending free agency. Part of Brian Jordan, who may leave at the end of the year. 2-2 on Ordaz.
Well, it's going to be a tough go for J.D. Drew the remainder of this season and into next year as you get a look at Brian Jordan sitting this one out tonight. J.D. Drew really alienated himself from a lot of the major league players by holding out, not signing the contract. Many veterans felt that he needed to prove himself before he cashed in with the big payday, but Drew stuck to his guns, and here he is in the most historic game in the history of baseball.
A lot of people thought, Tim, that it was his agent, Scott Boras, who was driving that train. J.D. Drew and his family will tell you it was J.D. Drew and his family that were driving that train. But it wasn't Boras trying to make a statement. The 2-2 to Ordaz is to the second baseman, Maxwell, just into the game. His first put out goes without a hitch, 1 away.
And the final number, from what I understand, a little over $8 million as a bonus. That is whether he makes it or not. Bonuses have gone up since I was playing.
No kidding.
Is it hypocritical at all for major leaguers to make the comments that some made publicly about J.D. Drew with regard to holding out for the money?
Perhaps. Yeah, that's a good point.
Come on. Into left center field off the bat of Drew. Lance Johnson to his right, 2 out. Two out, nobody on, and here's Morero. And that's foul for strike 1. Ray Latchman makes a friend with a souvenir on this night.
Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire will hit again. McGwire, at the very least, will be third up in the bottom of the 8th. And Sosa, even if the first 4 Cubs are retired in the 8th inning and the 1st and the 9th, he'll be the batter in the top of the 9th inning.
And we again hope to talk to Mark McGwire right after the ball game, so stay with us for those words as Morero strikes out looking, and we slip into the 8th inning. Mulholland does his job. 8th inning, Cubs need some runs. They trail the Cardinals 6-2. Here is our Toyota game summary. Mark McGwire hits his 62nd home run of the season, an all-time record. Period. What more do you want? The Cubs want a lot more. They trail 6-2, and they get a leadoff base hit from Scott Service. On our Toyota game summary, Sammy Sosa 1 for 3 with a single and a walk, and everybody around here pulling for a Sosa home run. Mark Grace an RBI single in the 1st. Gaetti did the same, and the Cardinals 5 runs in the 6th inning, including home runs by Langford and Gant. They went back-to-back. A look at the Bud 1 airship overhead here in St. Louis, downtown St. Louis, the world headquarters of Anheuser-Busch. And Budweiser is the official beer of Major League Baseball. They help bring you the pictures from above. Leadoff hit, and now Manny Alexander is at the plate pinch hitting, and he takes a strike.
Joe, Bob, I'll tell you what I want. I want to see Sammy Sosa batting with the bases loaded, 2 outs, and hit a grand slam home run. Hey, this is a movie, isn't it?
Certainly feels like it, doesn't it?
It does.
Are we collectively Joe Bob now?
Yeah,
right.
Joe Bob.
All right.
Well,
I'll take it.
Bobby Joe, Joe Bob. Depends what part of the country you're in.
That's right. 1 on, nobody out. A leadoff hit by Service. Manny Alexander, a .234 hitter. Grounds to first, past McGwire. DeShields, great effort. But too late, base hit. The first 2 are on for the Cubs here in the 8th inning. Great effort by DeShields. Painter got over there, but the speed of Alexander, it's a clean infield single all the way.
And once that grounder got past Mark McGwire, it was going to be a very difficult play for the second baseman, who's off balance, making the awkward throw, trying to hit the moving target in the pitcher covering first base. And as you mentioned, Alexander's speed just too much.
Well, here you go, Tim. We're getting there. 2 on, nobody out, top of the order. Here's a look, and you will see that Alexander was safe. Lance Johnson takes the ball. Lance is 0 for 4. He's flying to center, flying to left, line to right, and grounded out. Action starts for the Cardinals in their bullpen, and there's action for the Cubs in their bullpen. We got action. 2 on, nobody out, and Johnson takes a strike. 1-1. Don Wengert, the right-hander, getting ready for Chicago. Two on, nobody out, and a 1-ball, 1-strike count on Johnson. And a visit to Painter while they get John Frascatore ready in the Cardinal bullpen.
By the way, after tonight's game is over, there is postseason in baseball this year, right?
There is.
Right, the World Series.
It will happen.
Wild card, National League Championship Series, American League. You know, you would think this is the 7th game of the World Series. That's the feeling it has to me.
I would agree with that, and I would also add that as Johnson takes a pitch low to make it 2-1, this season is setting up for an extremely exciting postseason and World Series, and of course could be blamed for self-serving reasons for saying that, but I think people who watch this game day in and day out believe that. 2 on, nobody out, 2 balls and a strike on Johnson, and 2-2 as all of a sudden the high strike is being called, which is to the delight of Lance Painter.
Since he's thrown a couple pitches up near the top of the zone. Now this entire baseball season has been kind of a can you top this?
Yeah.
Good numbers for Johnson with runners in scoring position. He has a man out there. Lays off, and it's 3-2.
Ken Griffey Jr. satisfying the Pacific Northwest with 50 home runs. San Francisco with a possible wild card. The San Diego Padres with a marvelous ball club. Houston, a very dangerous club.
Off the plate, the Cardinals will get only one.
The Atlanta Braves are the Atlanta Braves again.
We'll put that on hold, and we'll show you, Tim and Bob and the rest of our viewers, the reaction from across the country when Mark McGwire connected.
Diamond Vision Board here at Veterans Stadium.
George Steinbrenner. That is obviously the view from a big screen, probably at Fenway, with the Yankees and Red Sox playing there, and George Steinbrenner standing and applauding. Now, as the runners have advanced to second and third in a 4-run game in the 8th inning, the Cardinals will make a pitching change. Frascatore stomps in. Hernandez, Grace, and Sosa coming up. Sammy Sosa, Tim, probably thinking along the lines that you were earlier, hoping he gets a chance, and there is a way he could bat in this inning representing the tying run.
If Jose Hernandez or Mark Grace gets on base, then Sosa would be the batter with the bases loaded.
There it is, 62-58. Like a bad high school football game.
Yeah, and if that does happen, bad defensive high school football game. But it took Sammy Sosa so long to hit a grand slam home run, and then he hit 2 in a period of 3 games, in 2 games, back to back.
Well, while John Frascatore gets ready, you look at his numbers. We have so many people to thank for making this possible, for showing this historic night to this nation. On national TV, network, over-the-air national television. We want to thank, of course, the senior coordinating producer of Major League Baseball on Fox and the producer of today's game, John Filippelli. Our director, unparalleled in this business, is Bill Webb. The senior producer of the studio shows, Scott Ackerson. Produced by Gary Lang on a week-by-week basis. Directed by Bob Levy. Assisted there by Jennifer Love. And the senior producer of Fox Sports is Bill Brown. The executive producers of Fox Sports, David Hill and Ed Gorin. And boy, have they made this happen. And today's technical producer, Dave Hill. Technical director, Mitch Riggin. Special thanks to Lance Garrett, Derek Manning, Mike Fitzgerald, and as always, our hats are off to Steve Horn, who does the best job in any booth across the country assisting us. Second and third, 1 out, and the pitch to Jose Hernandez is up high from John Frascatore.
It's nice when your job is your privilege.
And it has been that tonight, hasn't it?
It indeed has.
Lou Brock, Hall of Famer, number 20, and a former member of both of these two teams. The Chicago Cubs traded to the Cardinals, and it was greatness after that. Number 2 in the all-time stolen base list, and he with 3,000 career hits. Second and third, 1 out, and the 1-0 pitch to Hernandez. That'll get a run home. Ordaz makes the play at first, out, the RBI ground out. Second out of the inning, and it's now a 6-3 Cardinal lead.
Lewis Clark Brock traded to the St. Louis Cardinals on June 15, 1964. Biggest debacle as far as trades are concerned in Chicago Cub history. And Lou went on, number 20, on to be a Hall of Famer. What a player. Wow.
Now runner at third with 2 out for Grace, and he takes a strike over the outside corner from Frascatore. Grace tonight has been on base 3 times, 2 for 3 plus a walk.
Lou Brock and Bob Gibson, both a couple of Hall of Famers. Special instructors for the Cardinals. Not a couple of bad guys to have for special instructors.
And Stan Musial's the team musician with the harmonica. Into left field off the bat of Grace. Back to get it, J.D. Drew, and the inning is over. The Cubs get a run. They creep 1 run closer. We'll see McGuire in the bottom of this 8th, 6-3 St. Louis.
Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you in part by Bud Light, for the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down. Make it a Bud Light. By Southwestern Bell, go wireless with someone you know. And by Southwest Airlines, with fares so low you have the freedom to go places. Fly Southwest.
Welcome back to the ballpark. The name of the ballpark, Busch Stadium, in the city of St. Louis, Missouri. And tonight, Tuesday, September 8th, 1998, Mark McGwire broke the single-season home run record of 61 home runs, hit by Roger Maris in 1961. He has 62 and counting, and I think the and counting is going to leave a lot of drama for the rest of this season.
I don't know how you could possibly predict where he's going to end up. I mean, the pressure is off now. He could fall into you know, a slump and finish the year on a down note. He could respond exactly the opposite way. The pressure's off. He's relaxed. He's having fun. He may go on a tear. But whatever number he ends up at, I have a feeling it's going to stand for quite some time.
And I tell you, I think Sammy Sosa is going to be relentless for the rest of the season because the Cubs have something to fight for.
The ground ball to first off the bat of the Shields. One away as Grace takes care of it. New pitcher is Don Wengert. Takes over for Paul Holland. Third of the night. And the numbers for Wengert, a record of 1-3. Here's Tatis, 0 for 3, hitting in front of McGwire tonight. Manny Alexander now at second base as they take Jason Maxwell back out of the lineup. 1 out, nobody on, and a strike is poured into Tatis. Well, soon I will be leaving you two. Headed down to hopefully corral Mark McGwire for an interview after this game, and that's going to be, I want your best wishes as you send me down there.
Good luck,
because you may never see me again.
Good luck to you.
Okay.
We're behind you winter tide.
0-2 on Tatis. He left in the 8th and was never heard from again. 1-2.
I can't help but think every time I see Matthew McGwire down there as the bat boy. I have a son about his age, and when he goes back to school, whether it be tomorrow or the day after, and has to turn in that composition, what I did on my Labor Day vacation.
2-2.
Let's see. I got to fly on a jet, go to St. Louis, and watch my dad set the all-time single-season home run record in Major League Baseball. I think you'll get an A.
He'll end it with any questions.
Yeah. Well, the questions will be put to Mark McGwire after this one as Tatis strikes out looking, and in walks Mark McGwire, the hero of the night right now, the hero of the 1998 season. One more standing ovation here in the 8th inning for Mr. 62. Well, from here on out, it's not going to be any more, is he going to break it? It's going to be how many is he going to hit? Since the record, number 62, he's been intentionally walked in the 6th inning.
An enormous pressure since spring training began. Mark, do you think you have a chance? And then he opened the season with 4 home runs in 4 games to tie Willie Mays, the only other player to do that.
2 out, nobody on, and a 1-1 count on McGwire. Yeah, he's been hearing this since really the end of last year.
Yeah.
When he ended up with 58. First question of spring training for Mark McGwire. You think you can break the record? 2-1. I asked him a question. I did a sit-down interview with Mark McGwire for the Fox Sports Net spring training. He said, I don't want to answer. I said, the one question everybody wants to ask you, you won't answer. He said, well, I figure I have to average 10 a month, and if I do that, I'll do it. And if I have 50 by the start of September, I'll have a chance. 2-2. We would like to welcome those of you who have been watching the Cincinnati Reds and the Houston Astros on FX. This is what could be the final at bat tonight for Mark McGwire, who has 62 home runs. The 2-2 pitch from Wengert. Full count.
A perfect example in this at bat against Don Wengert of how pitchers try to get Mark McGwire out. Sweeping breaking balls away off the outside corner and high fastballs up above the letters.
Here it comes on 3-2. A 2-out walk. So after the record, an intentional walk and now an unintentional walk. But if you want to get an asterisk out for that one, you can go ahead. Maybe unintentional in the books, but Wengert was not going to groove one on 3-2. So the walk continues the inning, and it ends the night for Don Wengert with Langford coming up. He's already burned the Cubs tonight once. And Chicago will go to the left-hander here in the 8th. Well, folks, at the end of the game, we hope to speak with Mark McGwire and recap his magical season. Then, for the most extensive coverage of this home run chase and all the post-game activities, turn to Fox Sports News Primetime, following this game on your Fox Sports Net regional channel. McGwire is at first after the walk, and the batter is Ray Langford. Langford is 1 out of 3, but the one is a big one. A 2-out, 3-run home run his last time up. Guys, how much can the Babe stand? Mark McGwire passes him. Ruth's record of 60 home runs stood for 34 years until Maris in 61. So he passed him long ago. And now he's on pace for 167 walks. Ruth's record there is the major league record of 170. That could be eclipsed, which would be incredible that he could do both in the same season.
Because Babe Ruth did not hit 60 home runs and set the National League or the American League record, Major League record for walks in the same season. He walked 170 times in 1923 and homered 60 times, of course, in 1927.
One on, 2 out. Langford a big swing and a miss against Felix Heredia. Heredia, the numbers, he was a trading deadline acquisition by the Cubs from the world champion Marlins. By the way, they too have been mathematically eliminated. Somewhere close to the All-Star break. 1 on, 2 out, a ball and 2 strikes. Langford waits. 2-2. John Frascatore is on deck, and right now there's no action in the Cardinal bullpen, although Acevedo was up earlier. He has been the closer for St. Louis lately, and it might be his 9th inning. Here's the 2-2 to Langford. That should end 8 innings for the night. Lance Johnson staggers under it, has it. McGwire is left. The Cardinals strand a runner in the 8th inning, and we go to the 9th. 3 outs away from the end of this one. 6-3 St. Louis.
On a night as historic as this, that's all the Cardinals need is a change in their battery. Tom Lampkin, the new catcher, and the new pitcher, Juan Acevedo, as Joe Buck is making his way down to the dugout to talk to Mark McGwire.
Well, Tom Lampkin was one of those guys Joe mentioned earlier about when a pitcher has a no-hitter going, guys on the bench try to stay away from him. They don't mention it. And throughout McGwire's chase of the home run record, the guys on the Cardinals bench have tried to avoid the topic as much as possible. And Tom Lampkin, one of his teammates who refused to shake his hand. I'm not going to shake your hand until you break the record. Lampkin broke down last night, or however on on number 61.
Right.
Decided to go ahead and shake his hand, and now today could officially congratulate him on breaking the record.
Told us before the game that he did not know what he was going to do tonight. He didn't think he could stick to it, just sitting over on the bench idly. Well, here's Sammy Sosa. Homerless on the evening. 58 on the year against Juan Acevedo, who can be wild. And the crowd yelling for Sosa. Just missed that pitch. 0-1 to Sammy Sosa.
Boy, a home run cut there from Sammy Sosa on a low fastball. We've mentioned it throughout the broadcast, throughout the summer. Sosa, a very good low ball hitter. That one about the middle of the thighs. Generates every bit as much power from a much smaller frame.
Ball 1-1 now to Sammy Sosa, leading off the ninth. 6-3 Cardinals.
Consecutive series with a home run.
15 in a row, so if he does not get a home run here and the Cubs do not overtake the Cardinals, then this will be the first time since early August that Sammy has not homered in a series. 1 ball, 2 strikes as McGuire looks on. Tougher pitch from Acevedo, outside with the fastball. Still 1-2.
You wonder if Sammy Sosa has a sense of relief that McGuire's finally broken the record.
It's a good point. High, ball 2, 2-2. Now Sammy can get back to business of trying to win the wild card berth in postseason play for the Chicago Cubs. 2 guys from totally different cultures. And Sosa down on strikes. So 1 out here in the 9th inning, and this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Commissioner of Baseball, and he's here tonight, and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. Round of applause, another standing ovation for Sammy Sosa. This one lined by Glenn Allen Hill to left center field, and Hill's going to have his second hit of the game. He doubles with 1 out, so the Cubs still very much alive here in the 9th inning. Gary Gaetti coming up. We talked about Sosa earlier, mentioning that he was from the little bastion of baseball strength down in the Dominican Republic, San Pedro de Macorís. There was a marvelous article in the New York Times by Larry Roeder today, talking about when the games are on down there and the streets in San Pedro de Macorís, they're as empty as when the government decrees a curfew. They're all inside listening to what Sammy has done. Lined hard over the head of the left fielder J.D. Drew, but what Joe Buck said earlier, he got a little glimpse of with a great jump on a ball hit by Gaetti. 2 out.
And on one of the toughest balls for an outfielder to play, that line drive hit directly at you, and Drew, as you mentioned, a great jump, immediately broke back toward the wall and was able to make that reaching catch almost at the warning track.
And Orlando Merced will be the pinch hitter for Jason Maxwell, the second baseman. Merced, formerly with the Pittsburgh Pirates, most recently with the Toronto Blue Jays, and exclusively as a left-handed batter now. He was a switch hitter when he came up. 2 out, Glenn Allen Hill on second. 6-3 St. Louis. Check swing, foul ball. 0-1 to Orlando Merced.
Hot off the press.
The Bulldog edition. Bob Brinley and I have just received the Bulldog edition of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch that says unbelievable class 62. What a remarkable year for Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Orlando Merced. Joe Buck is working his way down through the bowels of Busch Stadium. As a matter of fact, he's right behind home plate right now. He will have Mark McGwire and perhaps some words from Sammy Sosa too. Fans on their feet on this historic night. Punch foul. That delays further elation here in St. Louis. What thoughts must be running through his mind right now? Curveball way high, 2-2 now to Merced.
Well, Mark has been so accommodating to the press. Post-game media sessions after every ball game that go on and on and on. And I imagine this is one that he's looked forward to and is anxious to put behind him.
Finally, with a chance to be somewhat pensive. Inside, full count now to Merced. On deck batter Scott Service, and should Merced get aboard, then Service will represent the potential tying run. Mark McGwire is homered for the 62nd time in the 1998 baseball season. He did it in his second at bat, a laser shot 341 feet from home plate. Tap toward third. This could be it. What a play by Tatis to end it. We are planning, and Joe is down on the field right now. We're planning to have an interview with Mark McGwire. Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa will be talking to Joe Buck and Steve Lyons. Winning pitcher Kent Mercker, his record 10-11. Losing pitcher Steve Traxel, his record 14-8. Joe talked about it earlier. For Steve Traxel, he will be forever remembered in baseball history as giving up Mark McGwire's 62nd home run, a solo shot here tonight.
We get one more look at the historic home run off the bat of Mark McGwire, as Tim mentioned and Joe earlier. An absolute laser beam to left field. The only question was, is it high enough to clear the fence? Obviously it was.
I still love that shot. Dave McKay bringing McGwire back to make him touch first base because he was so happy and emotional he jumped over the bag. What a trip.
There's Mark McGwire with a big hug to his son Matthew after crossing home plate. A hug for catcher Scott Service. A hug for the Maris family. You get the feeling Mark McGwire would have hugged every person in this stadium tonight if time allowed.
With his parents now. Enough emotions for you tonight, partner?
Oh man, I'll tell you, it's been hard to talk at times. Can only imagine the feelings that must be running through that young man right now.
I I think we're about to find out as we go down to Joe Buck and Mark McGwire on the field. Joseph?
All right, Tim, thank you very much. You've hugged everybody else, pal. I want one. Give me a hug. Congratulations. Congratulations. Can you, I know it's been difficult all year to describe what it's like for you to go through what you've been through. Can you describe the feeling of relief and how you feel right now after becoming the single-season home run champion?
I tell you what, I was so shocked because I didn't think the ball had enough to get out. And when I saw the ball leave, I looked up and Dave McKay was in my way, and I sort of missed first base. I had to come back and touch it. And then, you know, I don't remember anything after that. And then I come in and everybody's hugging me, and I lift up my son, and I'm hugging, and I go over and talk to the Marises, and I just I was numb. And then I said, I still got to play the game, you know. And it's like, oh my God, I can't believe this. But it's an absolutely incredible feeling. It's I can honestly say I did it.
I want to say in front of the world, it has been such a pleasure watching you conduct yourself on the field and off the field. This is the headline, unbelievable class. He's in a class of his own on the field, and why don't I welcome in his parents right now, John and Ginger McGwire. You two ought to be awfully proud of the young man that you helped put together and give to the world. John, first you, can you describe what you're feeling tonight?
Ginger and I are deliriously happy over Mark's accomplishment. I mean, it's just phenomenal what he's achieved this year, starting with spring training and setting his mind to accomplish this goal. It's beyond our wildest dreams to be here tonight. Last night, he hit the 61st on my 61st birthday. Tonight, he hit his 62nd for the people of St. Louis, as he said. What a class act.
A class act. And Mom, I know you don't like this, but just a quick word about Mark and how proud you are.
It's just an incredible moment in the history of baseball, and I'm just so very proud of my son.
Thank you. Love you guys.
It just seems so unreal. Do you want to pinch me?
Yes, it's real. Congratulations. And for you, my friend, you realize, and this is the last question, I'll let you go, you realize what you have done for the game of baseball, don't you? You flung this game on your back, and you've taken it for a ride in 1998.
Well, I tell you what, if I'm responsible for it and the fans are coming out to watch it, I'm sure proud to be responsible for the game of baseball getting back on its feet, because I tell you what, I am damn proud of what I've accomplished, what I had to go through, and especially the support I've been getting here in St. Louis is absolutely incredible. And I thank St. Louis for everything.
Well, on behalf of St. Louis, on behalf of the baseball world, the sports world, and right now pretty much the country,